After an overnight flight, we arrived in Paris on the morning of July 19th and arrived at our hotel, the Crowne Plaza Republique, around 9 a.m. After checking in and meeting with Yolanda, our wonderful program director, we enjoyed a buffet breakfast at the hotel. After breakfast, we went out to look around. The hotel is located at Republic Square, where the centerpiece of the square is a bronze statue of Mary Ann. This statue, created in 1883, represents the French Republic and bears the French motto, liberty, equality, and fraternity. The square is a popular gathering spot, especially for skateboarders, and is often set up for people of all ages to enjoy various games. We saw later during our orientation walk, the square is also popular among political demonstrators. It was interesting to watch the traffic in this busy section of Paris, with bicycles, motorbikes, and e-scooters all easily zipping in and around other vehicular traffic, and who have seemed to have made their own rules of the road. Obviously, these bikes and scooters are a very popular way to get around. After breakfast on July 20th, our program director led us on a walking tour of the famous Latin Quarter and the island set in the center of the Seine, which is home to Notre Dame Cathedral and was at the center of many historic moments in Parisian history. In these photos, you can see that Notre Dame is undergoing repairs after the devastating fire of 2019. Our guided walk ended at the Pantheon, where we had a much-needed relaxing lunch at a local cafe. After lunch, we walked a few short blocks to enjoy the Luxembourg Gardens. From there, we found our way back to the river, where we bought tickets for the Bateau Bus. The Bateau Bus makes continuous loops, stopping at 9 locations where you can hop on and hop off. We rode the Bateau Bus to the Eiffel Tower, past iconic locations like the Louvre and Notre Dame. had to purchase a ticket to get onto the grounds of the Eiffel Tower, so the best I could do was to get pictures from the street. We walked up to the Palais de Chalet, a building at the top of the Chalet Hill in the Trocadero area of Paris. It has a large plaza with an excellent view of the tower. It was getting late, so we took the metro back to the Republic Square, arriving in plenty of time to join our fellow travelers at a local brasserie for a distinctly Parisian welcome dinner, where I was surprised with a candle in my chocolate mousse dessert to celebrate my 81st birthday. On the 21st, we checked out of the hotel and boarded a bus for a tour of the city, including the Champs-Élysées and the Arc de Triomphe, with a stop at the Eiffel Tower for a group photo. We then boarded a Bateau Mouche boat with a bag lunch for a lunchtime river cruise. The front of this medieval royal palace, Sainte-Chapelle and the Concierge, sits opposite Notre Dame and became a revolutionary court and Marie Antoinette's prison. After the lunchtime river cruise, we went to the train station where we boarded the high-speed TGV train for the 250-mile ride to Lyon, which took just under 2 hours. The train traveled about 130 miles per hour and was smooth and quiet. We arrived in Lyon about 4:30 on the 21st to board our ship, the MS Chanson, for our 7-day cruise down the Rhone River. On boarding, we received a personal, cordial welcome by our French captain and the international crew. Everything aboard the ship was done in grand style. I was surprised again when my birthday was celebrated with a sparkler-topped cake after dinner. The cake was shared among our fellow travelers at our table. After breakfast on the 22nd, we enjoyed an interesting discovery talk about the effects World War II had in the area, especially the resistance. We then took off for a walk around this UNESCO World Heritage Site. Once the capital of Gaul under the Romans, Lyon flourished as a trading center based on its extensive silk industry, which was introduced to Lyon in 1466 and led to Lyon becoming one of the world's major producers of silk. On our walking tour, we explored some of the many narrow, dark passages known as traboules, thought to have been built in the 4th century. Many of these end at a shop or restaurant. Across the river from the ship, there were 4 towers that mark a community recreation area for skateboarders and is the location of several Olympic-sized swimming pools. In the afternoon, 3 of us enjoyed a home-based hosted visit with Alexandria in her cozy 4th-floor apartment. We started the 23rd with a short metro ride followed by a funicular ride up Fourvière Hill. At the top, we enjoyed the overlook of Lyon, the 2nd largest city in France, where Yolanda produced a French pastry cake which we cut up and we all shared. In addition to the church at the top of the hill, there are the ruins of a Roman-era amphitheater, part of which has been modernized and is still in use. Lyon is also known to be the place where bike rental service was invented. It's also where an early version of the motion picture camera was invented in 1892. Our ship docked in Vigy, considered to be the gateway to Provence, around noontime. Vigy is a small village where cement was first started. Our discovery walk took us through a canopy of plane trees to the village center. These trees are common to France, especially in the Provence region, and line many French roadways. Located on a narrow street on our walk, we stopped into a shop that makes cement tiles, where colored cement is fashioned into tiles using intricate molds. Our walking tour took us up to the top of a hill with a cathedral tower dating back to the 11th century and with a beautiful view of the village below. On the way back to the ship, a number of travelers tried their hand at a game of pétanque, which is somewhat like soccer ball. Our visit to Vigy was short, and the ship left the port to sail on to Avignon around 6 p.m. Our ship docked at Avignon on the morning of July 25th. After breakfast, our group went on a walking tour with a local guide. The fortified city of Avignon is known as the City of Popes. For most of the 14th century, the popes left the turmoil of Rome and installed themselves here in the Catholic Church. These popes built residences, chateaus, and a number of fortified places and churches in Avignon. There's a lot of activity involving the theater arts, with a display of many posters and wandering troupes of actors promoting their productions. Some of our group took the optional tour of the Pope's Palace, while others of us took the choo-choo train for a tour of the city. On the morning of the 26th, while still in Avignon, we ventured out on a discovery walk to one of the city's many interesting neighborhoods. It was here that we went into an indoor market and enjoyed walking around the colorful displays of fruits, vegetables, olives, pastries, cheeses, and meats. After our time at the market, Anastasia, one of our program directors, brought out a tray with samples of cheeses, grapes, and bread for the group to enjoy. After an enjoyable cruise down the Rhone River, we arrived at Arles, also known as Little Roma, around mid-afternoon on the 26th, and immediately set off for a walking tour of the town. On the 27th, we continued our walking tour of Arles with a local guide who led us through the streets to the Roman-era Colosseum and the adjacent amphitheater, both of which are still in use today and where bullfights are conducted. We took a brief rest at this beautiful courtyard garden. Arles was beloved by Vincent van Gogh, who lived here from 1888 to 1889, producing over 300 paintings and drawings, including his painting of the Café El Alcazar he called Café Terrace at night. Our afternoon found us traveling through the Camargue region, Europe's largest delta, for an excursion to a 1,500-acre bull farm, where we were met by the owner and the guardian keepers of this land, who are much like our cowboys. The owner's wife acted as our guide as we rode out to see the bulls in their natural environment on a farm wagon outfitted with bench seats. These bulls, we learned, compete in bullfights, but unlike Spanish bullfights, these bulls are not killed, but live out their lives roaming the fields and eating the natural grasses. Red rice is also grown on this farm. Bullfights in France consist of a team of athletic men who attempt to remove a tussle from the bull's horn without getting injured. After our time in the field, we enjoyed some wine and viewed a collection of saddles from around the world. As we disembarked our ship on the 28th to travel by bus through scenic Provence to Nice, we remembered all the good times on board. and the fine entertainment, including the excellent talk on the World War II French resistance, a lesson by the chefs on making puff pastry, the piano artistry of Cynthia Cobuins, and the cruise show. Along the way, we stopped at the Rhone American Cemetery, where 861 American soldiers are buried. This is one of 26 similar cemeteries, memorials, and markers in 17 countries. Our local guide at the cemetery told us the story of Wade Sagnall, one of the soldiers buried here. Larry, one of the veterans in our group, laid a bouquet of flowers at the foot of the memorial. Our next stop was at a winery for lunch. The main building dates back to its origins in the 12th and 14th centuries, and it's used as a Knights Templar commandery. Here we enjoyed a wine tasting accompanied by an assortment of fruits, vegetables, olives, and cold cuts, followed by a brief tour of the vineyard. As we approached Nice, we got our first view of the Mediterranean Sea, the Bay of Angels, and the some 4-mile stretch of its pebble beach. Nice is known as the capital of the French Riviera, or the Côte d'Azur. Our hotel was the very nice Hotel Riviera, conveniently located only a couple of blocks off the main street and a couple of blocks from the town square. There's a great deal to do and see in Nice, but we only got a taste during our short stay. The Place Messina is the main city square and the beating heart of Nice, with a statue of Apollo and the 7 statues in the square representing the continents and communication between different communities of society today. July 29th is our last day in Nice and our last day in France. On this last day, our discovery walk takes in the seaside spirit with a stroll through Vieux-Nice, or Old Town, and the Promenade des Angelus, or the Walkway of the English. The Old Town of Nice is a historic part of Nice, full of restaurants, pubs, and shops. Here we walk through the main city market, Cours Salia, and its narrow streets. After our guided walk, we went a short distance to Castle Hill, where we took an elevator to the top. It was only a short walk from there to an overlook where we had a beautiful view of the entire city and the port of Nice. Back at the market, we stopped and got some ice cream. It was crowded and we couldn't see all the selections, so we made our choice from the many flavors listed on the sign behind the display.